Ever wondered of starting a fruit garden in the suburbs but don't know where to start? Well, stick around. I'm going to show you what you can grow and where to basically start. So I think the best videos are made when you just walk around your garden and just show you what we create here. And so for new beginners that are starting homesteading, I know what your normal questions would be, so let's try and answer them. Okay, so the first questions that new beginners normally ask me is, what can I grow and how do I grow it? So it depends on the person, because if I say to you go and grow beans and cucumbers and tomatoes, what if out of these three crops you only like cucumbers, you don't eat beans, you don't like tomatoes, and so you won't go and grow things that you're not going to actually benefit and eat from. Don't make that mistake, because it was me right in the beginning of me homesteading. I went and looked at all these awesome ideas that social media was feeding to me, and I grew a whole bunch of things that I do not eat. It was nice growing it, because you grow it from seed or a seedling. You watch it grow, you watch it flower, you watch it give you the fruits and the veggies you want, and then come harvest, you go and harvest it all, and they rot. They just go bad because you do not enjoy cooking or eating those products. And that is the one downfall when people go and grow things. They grow things because of social media. So my first advice to you all is grow things that you are going to eat, cook with, enjoy. And that is what I've now in my third, fourth and my fifth year started doing. In my first and my second year, it was just me learning and me failing and me just learning again. And as I said in past videos, I like cabbage because cabbage is something you can put in stir fries. My animals like it. You can make coleslaw, you can ferment it. There's a lot of options of using cabbage and all different varieties of cabbage. The only thing is that I fail in cabbage every single year, but every single year I will try and see what I can do to better myself. So if you fail in crops that you enjoy but you can't get growing, just do your research and learn from it and carry on and try until you succeed. So crops that you can get growing, I've spoken about it. Go look at a video I recently made about 6 crops that beginners can start growing right now, and that should help you with just trying to get in the right direction and learning how to firstly sow them, grow them, care for them and harvest them, and see if you're going to use these crops, because growing your crops is very different to buying it at the shop. You will taste the difference, but you feel more rewarded when you actually plant your own crops and eat from it. And it doesn't matter how long you have gardened for. If you tell me that you've been gardening for over 20 years and you've never experienced any pests or diseases in your garden, then please write a book about it, because I've heard from people that have homestead for many years say that every single year they struggle with something in the garden. It be from pests or diseases, and they still don't get it right. And when they do get it right, something else hits on another crop. So for example, I'm going to talk about tomatoes. Tomatoes I'm pretty good at growing, and tomatoes is very easy to grow, but the only thing is that you need to look after it, maintain it, and you need to know what to do in order for it to not get diseases. I have not been successful in the last 2 years in my tomato growing, and I know why, and this is why I want to speak to you, because it's about learning and making mistakes and then trying to prevent it in the next season. So I normally always use one raised bed, and I plant all my Indeterminate tomatoes in this bed, and it always does well. And you'll hear rumors about don't grow different varieties of tomatoes in one bed because they'll cross-pollinate, and then you'll hear other people say no, it's not true, and you'll hear very popular homesteaders say that is not true. Well, I'm on a borderline about that, because last year I actually saw a cross-pollination between my tomatoes, but in previous years I've never ever come across it. So I'm not sure if it's different varieties that can do that. But let's talk about 2 years ago when I was extremely successful. Not this season and not last year, but the year before that. I had grown a bed full of different varieties of tomatoes, and 98% of my tomatoes are Indeterminate tomatoes. It's just what I like growing. And I normally grow it in this raised bed, and I've got my shade cloth, I've got my wire, and I've got my string where I support all my vining tomatoes. So the tomatoes I always grow is red cherry tomatoes, yellow cherry tomatoes, blueberry cherry tomatoes, and the other tomatoes that I like to grow is jam tomatoes. So these are the tomatoes I normally always grow in my raised beds, and they've always done very, very well. And this season and last season I went and bought different varieties of seeds for tomatoes to try them out, and majority of them were Determinate tomatoes, and I'm not very familiar with cherry tomatoes. Birds are crazy. Wow, they're literally screaming. So between our finches, the miners, our parrots inside the house, and the quails, they're all deciding just to make one big racket right now. So the tomatoes last season, I went and got in Determinate tomatoes, which are more bush varieties, and they're more sandwich tomatoes and sauce tomatoes, and that is what I was trying to get. I wanted to get into using my tomatoes not just for sun-dried tomatoes, which I like to put in olive oil and jar it for years, but I wanted to start making my own sauces so that I can see if it's worth it this season. But this season I've not done very well as well. And the only thing I can think of is because I am growing a variety that I am not used to. So when you grow varieties that you are used to, you kind of like get the feel, you know what they require, how to prune it, how to look after it, when they are green, how many days until they actually mature and ripen. But with these new ones, I'm finding more pests are coming in, more diseases are coming in. My tomato plants are getting whacked with so many diseases, not even pests, more diseases. I've never had that in growing tomatoes ever. In the last 2 seasons I have, and the only thing I can think of is because I'm introducing new seeds that I'm not used to, and so that is my challenge. My challenge is now to learn how to grow the seeds of these tomatoes. In homesteading, you will come across all of these issues. You will fail more than once. Don't give up. You just find a solution and you carry on. I've done a video on 6 crops that you are able to grow for beginners, and check that video out. Maybe there's something that you'd like to grow, even if it's three items that you want to grow. But let's go through what they could be. So I would suggest things like tomatoes. I would suggest things like cucumbers. Beans are really nice to grow. You can see that they've just given me my second batch, and we've just harvested the first batch. They've cured for 2 weeks on the shelf. I've actually showered them today, making a new video on that. And the more you pick, the more it will produce. If you don't pick your beans on some varieties, the plant thinks, oh, that's it, they've given you all the flowers and all the beans, and they basically stop producing. So by actually picking all your beans when they dried, it kind of like says, oh wait, there's no more beans or no more energy to focus on, let's go and make more beans. And so that is something I actually had to learn about with beans, and that's what I'm talking about. You learn things like this. So you can see there's some beans that have actually dried out. These beans have to be harvested in order for the tree to push out some more flowers, and that's what we're going to be doing later on in another video. And tomatoes are really great to grow, and you'll learn that if a unripened tomato falls off, don't throw that away. Don't throw that away. You can actually put it in a brown bag, and I think they say put a banana in it, and you'll see that your tomatoes will ripen. I've never tried that trick, but I might, because I do have a few tomatoes here that have fallen off, and they are all basically green. And so I'm going to try that method in order to see if it works. And that's what I mean. You learn things in the garden. Something I didn't know. Okay, and you can do different varieties of beans. So you can see that I've got these beans over here. I think these are the wonder beans. These molly beans. And then over here is my bush variety beans. Okay. Other crops you can grow is carrots and beetroots, lettuce, kale, spinach. These are nice, easy crops to get started. But what happens when you've mastered that stage and you want to venture more? Well, let's talk about it. Stage 2 would be things like maybe corn. It would be things like your cabbage, your cauliflower. So you can see I said that I'm really not good in growing cabbage. Every single year I grow cabbage, and every single year I fail, and every single year I say I'm not going to grow cabbage. But every single year I do try, because I really want to master it, and it's not something for me to give up. It's something that I want to use around my homestead. And so I've gone and grown some Chinese cabbage, and these are just your normal cabbage. This is, I can't even say the name, but consequencidor, something like that. Sounds quite funky. And then I've got another one there, the baby puma. So right now they're looking okay. This one I've had to take some leaves off because I saw mildew again, and I saw snails in them, and that is something that you will battle with. So learn how to maybe control it. I'm still learning. And one thing that you can do is, if you got some wood ash from your chimney, try and sprinkle that around the base. Snails don't like wood ash, as well as broken shell pieces. But because it's been raining and that, the wood ash will just wash away. So try the shell. They might not get to your cabbage. So that's one thing. I have tried that. Some other things you can grow be maybe sweet potatoes and potatoes. You can do brinjals. That's really nice. And then, as I said, try things like kohlrabi as well. Kohlrabi. I tasted kohlrabi for the first time 2 years ago. Last year I grew Kohlrabi. I failed in growing it. This year I'm actually successful in growing Kohlrabi. This is just one of my Kohlrabi plants, and I've got some more Kohlrabi on this side. Look at this one. How beautiful is that Kohlrabi looking? So that is what you do. I've been homesteading for over 5 years, and I'm only starting certain crops now, only because I'm trying to learn, or I tried to learn the crops that I was failing in before starting to grow other crops that I didn't want to also fail in and have too many crops to try and learn. So now that I've kind of like gotten to learn the basic crops and then introduce stage 2 harder crops, maybe things like onion, let's see, celery. I'm not sure if celery is really hard to grow, but that I only started growing at the homestead last year, so I only introduced that then. And another fun one if you want to grow is melons and squash and butternut. Maybe start in stage 2, but start somewhere, guys. It's not hard to grow, and let's talk about what you can grow in, because there's a lot of people that say to me, but Sam, I don't have a garden, I don't have a patio, I don't have a balcony. So let's sort that out. So let's say you do have a patio and maybe a balcony. So do things like grow bags and little pots. And what you can grow is, in these pots, they're fabric bags. And if you don't have fabric bags, can't afford fabric bags, I know that a lot of South Africans have loads of woolly bags in their cupboards like I did. My sister-in-law loves woolly bags. And so I grabbed a whole bunch and I used it as fabric bags, and they work perfectly. They basically have the best drainage, and once you actually plant things and you water it, the water just goes right through. It's really, really awesome to use. You can see I have a whole bunch of sweet potatoes. I have about 7 varieties of sweet potatoes. Thanks to Simone, she gave me some beautiful cuttings from her sweet potatoes, and thanks Simone, they're doing amazing. Last year I didn't document me harvesting and actually showing everyone, but this year I definitely will make it a point to do that. I actually saved some of the slips and created some new ones, so that was a blessing there. But what else can you grow besides sweet potatoes? You can do potatoes, you can do I think you can do 2 to 3 lettuce in a small grow bag. You've got these nice bigger grow bags, about 4 lettuce there. They're very, very handy. You can even put some pepper plants in them and they will do amazing. But another method would be pots. So you can see all the pots that I've got, and what you can grow in pots is so many things. So you can see that I've got a chili plant there, and I grow majority of my chilies in pots. And obviously the smaller the pot, the smaller the production and the plant will grow. The bigger the plant, the bigger the production and bigger the plant will grow. And I have found that because if my pepper juice are in a pot compared to in the raised beds, I find my harvest is bigger in raised beds and the plant really bushes out, where in a pot it doesn't really bush out as much. But you can see how many peppers I actually have on this very small plant. And I've got 2 plants in here just pushing out all of these peppers for me, chilies. We've got a smaller one here that I've overwintered. And going around the homestead, there is just so many pots that I've got with peppers and chilies. But that's not the only thing you can grow in pots. I grow a whole bunch of fruit trees in pots, and here's a good example. You see how small this pot is, and I've got a fig tree, and the fig tree has a whole bunch of figs on it. And so, yep, you can do fruit trees in pots, guys. And if I go this side, I've got bigger pots. And bigger the pot, the bigger your plant can be. So we've just harvested all our apples off the Granny Smith and the Gala, and I've got one more apple on here. You can see the pot, and you can see how big the plant is. The plant is very small. The tree is probably as high as I am. So yeah, you are able to grow a whole bunch of fruit in pots. I've got so many pots with fruits and so many peppers and chilies and grow bags and that. But then the next question comes in, and it's, but Sam, I don't even have a balcony or a patio or anywhere to actually grow. Well, that's where I will say start very small. You do have a kitchen that has a windowsill. You get a small little pot, a few small little pots, and you put it along your windowsill and you grow herbs. They are amazing. So when I started, I grew things like basil, I grew thyme, oregano. I even had a little pot with chilies and peppers in it. So that just was on the floor by a window, because there's no better feeling than harvesting what you've grown and taking care of something. And it's like, I'm making spaghetti bolognese tonight. I need basil. And there it is, fresh basil from your little windowsill garden. So guys, there's always a way to try and create a beautiful homestead in any situation you're in. So get growing today and reap the rewards, because there's no better feeling than actually growing your own stuff and making supper or blessing other people with some beautiful harvest. And guys, take a look at this next video, because I think you will enjoy it. It actually shares with you the 6 crops that beginners can actually get started. So I'll see you in that video.